Hey Lucy, hey Acadia, it's Granddaddy, and I have another mermaid story for you today. It is called Sophie Makes a Splash, and it is a book in the Mermaid S.O.S series. And, oops, wow, my iPhone fell over. And you may remember I read to you before Misty to the Rescue. Well, this is Sophie Makes a Splash. And Sophie, here's Sophie. Sophie's right here. Sophie's got an orange tail. She has funky yellow hair. Remember, she was in this story last time. So, let's see what this is about. Sophie Makes a Splash. And I think we're going to start with a prologue. You remember what a prologue is from before. A prologue is where they tell you what the story is going to be about. There's a map of Oceania. We saw this before. And by the way, I'm just going to read half of this book. Last time when I read Misty to the Rescue, I read the whole book. And when I got to the end, I found out I had read for an entire hour, which is too long for me to read. My voice gets tired, so I'm going to read half an hour. Okay, here's the prologue. So you've heard this before, but this will remind you what the story is about. Prologue. Meet Misty, Ellie, Sophie, Holly, Lucy, and Scarlet. They are mermaids, sisters of the sea, who live in the magical underwater world of Coral Kingdom. The merfolk and their wise ruler, Queen Neptuna, look after the sea and all its creatures. Coral Kingdom is protected by 6 powerful magic crystals, which give life and strength to the merfolk. Without the crystals, Coral Kingdom would not survive. Every year, the old crystals fade and have to be replaced. Queen Neptuna sends Misty and her friends, 6 special mermaids who are pure of heart, to collect the new ones from the secret crystal cave. But as they are bringing the crystals home, a storm blows the mermaids completely off course. This is no ordinary storm. It is created by Mantora, Queen Neptuna's jealous sister. Mantora wanted to rule Coral Kingdom, and now she is bitter and full of hatred. She is determined to stop the mermaids from returning home so that she can overthrow Queen Neptuna and set up her own evil storm kingdom instead. Luckily, the young mermaids have courage and friendship on their side, but that's not all. Their S.O.S kits will help them as they race to get their crystals back safely, and they never forget their mermaid pledge. Okay, here we go. Here's the mermaid pledge. We promise that we will take good care of all the sea creatures everywhere. We'll never hurt and never break. We'll always give and never take. And as we fight Mantora's threat, this saying we must not forget. I'll help you and you'll help me, for we are sisters of the sea. Sisters of the sea. Sophie and her friends are eager to prove that Queen Neptuna was right to trust them with the precious crystals. They are going to do everything it takes to get them home and safeguard Coral Kingdom for another year. Will Mantora win, or can the mermaids get the new crystals back in time to stop the light fading forever from Coral Kingdom? Okay, this is Sophie's story. And so this is one of the stories about what happens to the mermaid when they're trying to bring the crystals back from the secret crystal cave to Coral Cave to Coral Kingdom. And we saw in Misty to the Rescue last time, that was the first one. So they got the crystals and then the storm blew them away. And then Misty sat on a crab, and the crab luckily knew what happened to Misty's secret belt in her pouch where she held the crystals. So they went back and they found the crystals, and now they're on their way again. And let's see what happens to them next. Chapter 1. See, it says chapter 1, O-N-E 1. Acadia, I bet you're really learning your letters now. You can probably read that all by yourself, but I'm still going to read it. Goodbye, goodbye, called the mermaids. Sophie, Misty, Ellie, Holly, Lucy, and Scarlet. They were looking up from the sparkling sea, waving farewell to the great albatross. And thank you. Okay, the great albatross. Okay, that is in one of the stories that we haven't read yet. So in one of those stories, there was an albatross, and so now they're finished with that adventure, and they're saying goodbye to the albatross. The albatross is a kind of bird. So they say thank you. And then it says, the king of the birds called his own wild farewell. He and his folk were returning to their rocky island home, where earlier that day the mermaids had rescued some white terns, T-E-R-N-S, terns, that's a type of bird. There we go, terns. Had rescued some white terns from a very sticky situation. The albatross and his brothers wheeled away, bearing giant clamshells that hung from ropes of twisted seaweed. A moonlight ride in these pearly carriages had helped the mermaids on their way after their kind deed. As they looked up, they saw the stately birds swoop into the path of the sunrise. So there go the birds. They're towing a clamshell, and apparently the mermaids had ridden in there. So that was part of the last story. Thank you so much, Sophie called one last time. Then she turned to the others, bobbing up and down in the water. It's time for us to swim west to Coral Kingdom. The brave young friends were the crystal keepers for Queen Neptuna. They had to deliver 6 glittering new crystals to her by the end of the week, or the power of Coral Kingdom would fade forever. I wish we could fly all the way home, sighed Ellie, as they checked that their crystals were safe in the pouches tied around their waists. Being carried through the air in shells was really like flying, said Sophie, fastening the belt of her pouch tightly. That's Sophie right there. But I'm glad to be back in the sea again. This is where mermaids belong. She did a spectacular somersault. Oh, I've seen Lucy do a somersault up with the rings where she had her, it was a backflip holding the rings and she flipped over. So Sophie's doing one just like that in the water. She did a spectacular somersault and dived under the waves as gracefully as a dolphin. Then she burst through the water again, shaking diamond drops of water from her fun, spiky hair. Her gleaming orange tail swirled in the clear waves like a bright ribbon. There she is, her spiky yellow hair. This is in black and white, so you can't see. This is orange. So. You don't have to show off and make a splash, Sophie, grumbled Scarlet. We're just as ready for a good swim as you are. They all felt refreshed and lively after their sleep, but there was still a long way to go on their journey, with perhaps new dangers to face. I hope Mantora isn't planning anything to try to stop us, said Lucy anxiously. All the difficulties we've met seem to have been caused by her. She's determined that we won't get the crystals home in time. We'll have to keep a careful watch for any sign of her, agreed Misty. She looked out to see if the frayed ends of her belt were still tied firmly together. Misty had almost lost her crystal a few days ago, and she had to make absolutely sure that it couldn't happen again. Next time, she might not get it back. I'm ready now, she declared. Should we swim deep under the sea? That way any humans out early in their fishing boats won't see us. Good idea, said Sophie. Let's go. One by one, the friends arched high in the air before plunging down in a swift dive. Their mermaid tails glinted like jewels in the sunlight. Orange, pink, red, yellow, purple, green. Then only a splash of white foam was left behind, and the mermaids were gone, hidden under the waves. Underwater was like a different world, thought Sophie. The morning sun shone through the sea and made everything glow. Golden flecks of sand glittered in the water when the mermaids swished their tails. They dived farther into the cool, mysterious depths. The distant sound of dolphins calling to each other echoed all around. "Isn't the sea beautiful?" said Sophie as the mermaids swam side by side in perfect harmony. A shoal of young tunafish darted past. Tiny silvery bubbles streamed up from the seabed below. And there are so many different creatures and oceans to get to know. "If only humans could see this," murmured Lucy. "Then they would fight with us against Mantora and everything." There are the mermaids under there. That's Sophie and Lucy, I think. Yeah, Sophie and Lucy. There's Lucy. Okay, if the humans could see this, they would fight with us against Mantora and everything that harms the sea. I want to help its creatures to be safe forever. The best way we can do that is to get the Scarlets the crystals home in time, said Scarlet crisply. Why don't we swim a little faster instead of admiring the scenery? All right, Scarlet, said Ellie. If you want to go faster, what about having a swimming race? But Sophie will win easily, laughed Misty. She's definitely the best swimmer of all of us. Scarlet looked a little bit annoyed. She thought she was just as good of a swimmer as Sophie. How do you know, she said sulkily. Sophie can't win every race. She might not win this one. Sophie wasn't worried about that, though. She loved to swim fast, but she knew that there were more important things than winning all the time. I don't mind who wins, she said good-naturedly. Ellie's right. A race will make us swim faster and get the crystals home sooner. Let's line up for the start. Okay, they're having a swimming race. There they are. They're all lined up for the start. Uh-oh. What's that? Looks like a shark. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 shark. Okay, here we go. The young mermaids all swirled their tails quickly and came to a stop. Then they stretched out their arms and held hands until they were in a perfect starting line. A drowsy shark, slowly drifting home to rest after a busy night, looked up and saw them. Shark. What foolish young thing, she tut-tutted. They should be hiding under a rock. Don't they know that Mantora has been charging around these waters looking for trouble? Maybe I should go and warn them. Oh, it's a nice shark. The shark's going to warn them. She sleepily waved a fin to catch attention of the mermaids, but they were too busy getting ready for the race to notice. Coral Kingdom lies straight ahead, so they didn't get the warning. Coral Kingdom lies straight ahead, said Sophie to the others. Are you all ready? We're ready, they called excitedly. 1, 2, 3, go, said Sophie. The race was on. Chapter 2. We're on page 31. See that? Page 31. Chapter 2. Sophie soon surged away in front of the others, her fiery orange tail rippling powerfully through the water. She really was a fast, sleek swimmer. Scarlet charged forward, determined to catch up with her. Then Misty quickly shot ahead to be tied with Scarlet. After a sudden burst of speed, Holly caught up with both of them. Compared to the others, Lucy wasn't such a strong swimmer. Aww. I'm sure she has other good things, so. She preferred to swim calmly and steadily, so she was soon left behind. Poor Lucy. Hold my hand, Lucy, said Ellie, going back to keep her company. We'll swim together. Let's see if we can catch them. Isn't that nice? They're sisters of the sea. That's why they're staying together, even when they're having a race. Nobody's going to leave Lucy behind. They're going to go back and take care of each other because they are sisters of the sea. All the mermaids enjoyed racing through the sparkling sea. It felt good to know that they were getting the crystals closer to home. They sang joyously as they swam. Okay, this is their song. Faster, faster, through the sea, who is quicker, you or me? Faster, faster, we must go, ever onward, swift, not slow. Let me read that one more time. Faster, faster, through the sea, who is quicker, you or me? Faster, faster, we must go, ever onward, swift, not slow. There's Ellie and Lucy. They're holding hands, swimming together. The friends swept along determinedly. Their long hair streamed out like silk, golden red, soft brown, and raven black. Some tiny-shelled lobsters looked up from the sandy seabed to admire them. I don't see the lobsters, but this pictures their show. I think it shows them with the fish around them. Marvelous swimmers, those mermaids, they exclaimed, waving their sharp pincers. They look like they want to get somewhere quickly. Wonder what they're in such a hurry about. Sophie and her friends hoped that they had shaken Mentora off their trail at last. They surged toward the western seas where Coral Kingdom lay hidden from human eyes in the far distance. Sophie was ahead in the race, but Scarlet was quickly catching up with Sophie's vivid orange tail. That's Sophie, and that's Scarlet. I'm nearly tied with you, Scarlet called triumphantly. Sophie laughed and sprinted forward, but then she swam straight into something that was invisibly blocking the way. Ouch, she cried, stopping so suddenly that Scarlet crashed into her. Then Misty collided with Scarlet. Soon all the mermaids bumped into each other in a confused heap. Ouch! Ow! What happened? The friends exclaimed as they rubbed their stinging arms. Oh, my poor head, said Ellie. And my tail, said Sophie. Then they all looked up to see what had forced them to stop. In front of them was a loosely woven net. It was made from ropes of the same pale color as the water, so it was difficult to see. The holes in the net were too small for the mermaids to swim through. Oh, so there's a huge net, invisible net, blocking their way. So that's what we bumped into, said Sophie wonderingly. An invisible wall of net. It waved silently and menacingly in the current like a giant spider web. Hey, guess what, girls? Your grandmother's here. Why don't you go around to the other side of the desk? You can say hi to the girls.
Hi! Hello!
Yeah, that's Grandmommy. She's been outside gardening as usual, and she came in and she heard me recording something, so she wanted to record her greeting. So,
Okay.
Okay, there goes Grandmommy. Bye, Grandmommy.
Bye.
Okay. Now, back to the story. This giant net. Oh, what are we going to do about this giant net? So that's what we bumped into, said Sophie wonderingly, an invisible wall of net. It waved silently and menacingly in the current like a giant spider's web. Mentora's work, no doubt. Oh, they're the mermaids in the picture. See the picture, the mermaids? What do they have out? They all have their crystals out. Be careful, everyone, called Holly. Stay away from it. This might be dangerous. It's a little spooky, said Lucy nervously. Do you think it has something to do with Mentora? I don't know, replied Misty as the mermaids hovered in the water, gazing at the huge barrier. But we'll have to get past it somehow. I just wish it wasn't so big. The strange net was really enormous. It reached all the way from the seabed below to the surface of the water above the mermaids' heads. From side to side, it sliced through the water like an endless brick wall. The mermaids quickly took out their radiant crystals and shone them over the huge expanse so they could see better. So they're using crystals like a big flashlight. Do you know what I think? Said Holly, as she examined it from a cautious distance. I think it's a fishing net. Makes sense. Sophie and the others listened to Holly carefully. She was very smart and knew about all sorts of things. Isn't it too big for that? Ellie asked. This kind of net is big, said Holly. Ordinary fishing nets are like sacks that scoop up the catch, but this one is called a gill net. My dad told me about them. They stretch through the water like a wall. When a plump fish tries to swim through one of the holes, his gills and fins get caught. Then he can't swim forward or backward to free himself. Poor thing, said Lucy sadly. How awful to be trapped in a net. I know, Lucy, said Misty, but it is Mother Nature's way. All the creatures need to find their food, even humans. But do the humans really need to catch so many fish? Asked Ellie. This net will hold thousands of fish when it is full. I'm afraid the humans can be just as greedy as Mentora, said Holly wisely. In the old days, the fisher folk only took enough from the sea to feed themselves and their families. But now, these big new gill nets catch everything they can. Even mermaids, shivered Lucy. I'm glad I'm not caught in it. Can we just swim to the surface and leap over the top up there? Asked Sophie. The others thought this was a sensible idea, but Holly stopped them. No, she said, there might be humans waiting in their fishing boats on the surface to haul in their catch later on. We shouldn't go near them. Then we'll have to swim along until we find an opening, said Sophie. It's a shame to be delayed just now. We were moving so quickly. And I was nearly beating you, said Scarlet. We'll have to finish the race another time, replied Sophie with a quick smile. That doesn't matter now. We've got to find a way to get around this net. The mermaids turned to their left and followed the line of the webbed ropes, holding their glimmering crystals high to clearly light the way. They were searching for an opening big enough to slip through so they could continue their journey. The friends were all impatient to get home to Coral Kingdom. Is this awful gill net going to go on forever? Complained Scarlet as they swam along. The other mermaids started to look worried too. The wall of net bent away ahead of them until they couldn't see where it ended. But just then they heard something that sent a shiver down their spines. Help! What's that? Asked Misty. The sad, wailing cry echoed through the water again. It seemed to come from in front of the mermaids. Help! Please, help! Someone's in trouble, said Sophie. We've got to find them. The mermaids surged forward anxiously as they swam around the curving wall of the huge net. A little gray shape came rushing toward them. Oh, exclaimed the friends in surprise. It was an adorable baby dolphin with soft flippers and big dark eyes, and the mermaids could see that he looked as though his heart might break. Okay, here's an up-close picture of the dolphin. See, there's a little tear coming from the dolphin's eye. It's a baby dolphin. I wonder what the problem is. Okay, chapter 3. Okay, this is the last chapter I'm going to read for right now, and I'll read the rest of the book later. Chapter 3. Please come quickly, he sobbed. What's the matter, little one? Said Sophie kindly as she put her twinkling crystal away. It's my... The baby dolphin gulped. He was crying so hard that he could barely speak. It's your what? Smiled Misty. It's my mommy, he wailed. She's caught in the nasty net. The mermaids looked at the sobbing young creature with concerned faces. This sounded like a job for the Sisters of the Sea. Can you show us where she is? Asked Scarlet. As fast as you can? She's over there, he sniffed, and she's hurt. Oh, no. He dashed away, and the mermaids swiftly followed him. Soon they could see where the big gill net came to an end in the distance. But some way before that, the mermaids saw the streamlined shape of a dolphin. She was stuck in a wide gash in the net, tangled in its twisted, trailing ropes. The frantic mother was rolling from side to side, lashing her tail and trying to escape. But each move pinned her even more tightly in the knotted web. See, there's the mommy. She's got the net around her and she can't get out. Mommy, the little dolphin cried. He laid his snuffly beak on her face. I found some sparkly fish to help you. Good boy, Smudge. Guess that's the baby dolphin's name, Smudge. Good boy, Smudge, panted his mother weakly. She looked at Sophie and her friends. Ah, you are mermaids. My name is Silver, and as you can see, I'm trapped. How did this happen? Asked Sophie urgently. We were traveling with my sisters and their young, Silver replied faintly. Faintly, that means she's getting weak. On our way to the wild waves. My son suddenly heard a strange noise, as though someone was calling him, so he darted after the sound. I didn't know it was a bad thing to do, wept Smudge. I'm sorry. I followed him, continued his mother with an effort. We saw this huge net ahead of us. A hole had been torn in it, maybe by a boat. Smudge slipped through, and I tried to follow but got stuck. What were you swimming toward, Smudge? Asked Ellie gently. Someone was calling me, said Smudge. When I swam through the hole in the net, I saw her. She had a tail like yours, but she was scary looking. I didn't like her, so I turned around and swam back here to my mommy. That sounds like Mantora, exclaimed Lucy. I fear that it was, gasped the mother dolphin. See, that's what they saw. I have to lift it a little bit so you can see. Mantora, that's Mantora. She was calling to the baby dolphin to lure him through so they could trap the mother. Okay. Don't worry, Silver, we'll set you free, said Sophie. The friends eagerly tried to undo the twisted ropes, but they were in tight knots around Silver. The shiny, slippery netting was too hard for mermaid fingers to untie. At last, Sophie and her friends had to admit defeat. I think we'll need to get some help, said Misty. There's nothing in our S.O.S. kits that can cut through this hard human-made rope. We'll go and see what we can find, then come back. Misty was about to dash away when Holly called out, Wait, it's not that simple. Silver raised her head feebly. Yes, she whispered, I cannot wait for you to get help. If I don't swim to the surface very soon to breathe, I will not survive. See, dolphins breathe air. They have to go up and get air. They can last a long time underwater without breathing, but they have to go up and get air. They're not like fish. So that's why Silver is becoming weak, because she's not getting any air. Okay, so she's saying, I really don't have time for you to go and get someone else to help. I'm going to die if we can't figure this out. This is really scary. Misty, Ellie, Lucy, and Scarlet looked shocked. You see, Sophie explained, dolphins aren't like us. They can't just swim underwater for as long as they like. They have to keep going up to the surface to breathe in air through their blowhole, added Holly. My mommy can't breathe, cried Smudge. He nuzzled against her unhappily. But we're going to have to help her breathe, said Sophie in a clear, calm voice. We're going to think of something, Smudge, and we're going to think of it quickly. Lucy cuddled Smudge, and Ellie soothed Silver by stroking her smooth gray sides, while the others gathered around. Let's try to solve this step by step, said Holly. We have to take Silver up to the surface to get some air, but we can't do that because she's stuck in the net. So instead of Silver going up to the air must come down to Silver, shouted Sophie. Holly, you're a genius. But what do you mean? Asked Scarlet. We can't bring air down under the water. It's not something we can carry in our pouches. Okay, there's Smudge, the baby dolphin, and who is the mermaid who's comforting him? To back up and see, I don't remember. Just talked about who was holding. Lucy cuddled Smudge. See that? Lucy, cuddled Smudge. So there's Lucy and Smudge. Okay, so Holly has an idea. They're going to bring the air down, and Scarlet says, how do we do that? It's not something we can carry in our pouches. No, said Sophie, but we can carry it in our mouths. Don't you see? Oh, said Misty, I understand it now. We mermaids can breathe in the water and up above in the air. So we'll go up to the surface, take in a nice big breath, hold it in our mouths, said Holly, and breathe it into Silver's blowhole. Finished Sophie triumphantly. She looked around, flushed and eager. It sounds very clever, said Lucy. Do you really think it will work? We won't know until we try, Holly replied. Smudge, we're going to see if we can breathe for your mommy. Sophie and Holly sped away up to the surface. They made sure that there were no boats nearby. Then they bobbed up through the waves to the overwater world. They took in huge gulps of air, closed their mouths, and dived back down to Silver. Then the mermaids took turns to breathe the air gently into her blowhole. That's better, sisters of the sea, Silver sighed gratefully. I feel a little stronger now. Kind mermaids, cried Smudge. Smart mermaids. It seems to be working, said Sophie. But we'll have to continue doing it. Scarlet and Misty, why don't you go to the surface next? Bring down some big breaths of air for Silver. Soon, all of the mermaids had gotten the hang of it. They went up to the surface and dived back down again over and over again so that Silver could be given the air she needed. Thank you, said the patient mother. But you can't do this forever. How am I going to get out of here? Smudge and I must rejoin our dolphin family before they swim away to the wild waves. We don't want to be left behind, said little Smudge. The mermaid's task was only half done. They could help Silver to breathe, but she still couldn't move. What would Sophie and her friends be able to think of next? Okay, that is the end of chapter 3. We're going to begin next time with chapter 4 when we see how the mermaids are going to get Silver out of the net. That's it. I enjoyed reading this part to you and looking forward to next time. Bye-bye, girls.